Okay, so clearly I have a lot to say right now, so I figured I might as well just keep going. So here's checking in on, what is today? Day 248, I think. So, if you want to hear the origins of this, it started out very happy sounding because I wrote a ukulele song about being yourself and not imitating people because, I don't know, I'm just more curious about what the world will look like the fewer people imitate and just do what's in their soul and heart and mind to be, and stop just following everybody or criticizing everybody based on whether or not they're following appropriately. It's just, it all feels very, I was going to say ridiculous, but it actually feels very terrifying to me. It's almost as if, we're born little free-spirited beings up until, we're conscious, like age 5, 6, 7. Some of us already have a lot of rules or a lot of hardship put on us by those ages, like a lot. And, I didn't have a lot of hardship from any of that perspective. I had a lot of social issues and a lot of emotional challenges and some other things when I was young, but I didn't have the kind of hardship that many children have, like poverty or like a serious level of dysfunction in their home lives where they can hardly focus on school. Just families that don't create safe spaces to be able to even do the homework that's assigned to you, and then these kids are shamed for that. So I'm very passionate about honoring the different realities that every human being on this planet is facing. I lived in an abusive situation when I was much older, like a violently abusive situation multiple times, and different levels and different types of abuse, but pretty intense nonetheless. And, to this day, to be able to compare that and to know what it's like to live in relative peace, to know what it's like to basically have your life feel like a little haven where when you get done with work or you get done with challenges or you get done with, helping a friend or doing some good deed that maybe you feel called to do, at the end of that you can come home to a safe space and know that you can kind of count on it to be a certain thing. I think that's highly, devastatingly underrated in our culture and in our conversations. I think that is by far the number one reason I've had any more, I just want to say success, I guess, at being me. Whether or not you understand my version of success doesn't really matter to me. I mean, I'd like the whole world to understand me, but I don't suspect they will. These videos don't make me any money, but, they're helping me become who I feel I'm supposed to be. And when you've lived through, over a decade worth of, pretty intense trauma and just lots of bad situations that you become accustomed to, and then you accidentally keep choosing them too, and then you feel like you're part of the problem. And I see that in younger women. I see it in men too. So, I don't know. It's just I feel grateful to have kind of gotten out of that loop and to have found a support system, specifically people very close to me. But in this case, I guess specifically I'm talking about my living environment with my boyfriend. But it's just really, I don't think I could ever say enough about how much of a difference that makes in someone's life. And that really, in my opinion, kind of proves the nature versus nurture point. I think we do have certain things in our DNA that create who we are. Certainly, if you look at different members of my family with similar upbringing or similar experiences, you see different preferences, and that's got to be something in the DNA. That's not nurture. That's clearly nature. And it doesn't matter that we have the same gene pools. It's specific DNA that we each got. I don't know anything about science. Disclaimer, done. There. I got A's in it in school, but I think I just have one of those quick memorize, quick forget minds. So, whatever. It was in one too many plays, I guess, where that's how you learned so many lines so fast, is you knew you could immediately forget them. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So I think there's something that made me hardwired to be the one that wants to write songs. Why am I not getting sick of writing songs? I've literally been writing songs since I was 3 years old. We have old sheets of me just making up weird lyrics about nickels and shanks. I don't even know what I'm talking about. I think we just don't know what the words, what I'm spelling. And then all through elementary school, writing Casio pop songs, making every single friend I played with be in a band with me. My friend Julie was in a band with me. Around the block, she learned all my songs, and then my cousin Alicia was in a band with me, and she learned all my songs. And then my friend Heather was in a different kind of band with me. She didn't learn the poppy dance moves songs. She would visit every year from Boston area, and Bedford really, Massachusetts, and she would come and visit her grandma's house, and then we would do more of my serious kind of sad songs that started happening in 5th grade when my friend passed away. And so I've been doing this my whole life, and so who knows why, of the 3 of us, there's 3 kids in my family, why that's how I'm wired. It's certainly not because I'm stealing the spotlight that neither of them are doing it. My brother even tried to write songs. I think he wrote one for his now wife, and he wrote maybe one other one, and then he wrote a symphony, and he's an amazing musician, but he just didn't have whatever that calling, that drive to do this. Separate from experiences in my life, one could argue, well, it's because of traumatic things that I used songwriting in that way, but I can look back as young as 3, 4, 5 years old, and my brother and I were already quite different on that. He preferred to be behind the camera, filming us doing our dance parties, song and dance parties, So I guess that accounts for nature, what you prefer to do, but nurture, I just can't even, I feel like my life has just proven to me how much conditions create reality. So I guess what I'm trying to say to all of you, I'm not just trying to be pontificating. I was going to turn that into a new word, pontifetical. That's not a word. So I'm not just trying to pontificate. I am literally trying to say a lot of this may not be in our control. And this is the part where I think there's hope. A lot of this isn't in our control. We're kind of dealt the hand we're dealt. And that's where nurture affects us in the nature versus nurture debate. We can't control a lot of those things. But once you feel the ability in your skin to start taking control of the reins and try to get more in touch with who you actually feel you're supposed to be, I feel like if every human on this planet could shorten the gap between how long they wrestle with this and think thoughts like, oh, I wish I did this, or I really want to do this, and then just do them, we could start to rewrite our own code. We could start to get back in line with who we were put here to be, if that's even how it works. And getting out of situations that don't feel healthy is certainly one of the most difficult things I've ever lived through, and I don't think there's one easy way to do it. And I think more compassion is needed, and more resources, and more help with how hard it is to get out of situations that have any level of abuse in them, because the mind, it's trying to understand something that's not rational, and so we create excuses and we fall into patterns. And anyway, this is the topic on my brain right now because of Me Too, and I guess I don't envy anybody kind of waking up to their own traumas and their own triggers in this climate where it's real easy to talk about things, but there isn't necessarily a clear answer on the best way to go about healing. And I think it's really easy. It even was when I was trying to start healing from some of this stuff and dealing with it. There's a lot of, some people call it being an empath, and that if you're an empath, you're just going to naturally be attracted to narcissists. It could be that. It could be values. It could be that I value what other people think about me to a defective degree, where if I were then in too much contact with somebody that's very manipulative or controlling, that would create unhealthy patterns where I'm trying to get their approval and then they're going to mess with me. And anyway, This is a little more confessional than I meant to be, but yeah. That Me Too kind of got me a bit more outspoken than I've been on this topic. I also wanted to share about one other topic that I actually think is worth being confessional about. I've had a yo-yo love-hate relationship with food and dieting and exercise my whole life, and I just want to kind of acknowledge that even that feels very related to all of this Me Too stuff, and it's a very hard thing for me to talk about because I don't like it when I start to lose weight and get compliments for losing weight, but when you put on weight, nobody talks about that. Rightfully so, and understandably. I mean, I know a lot of people who want to be the weight they are, and they may not fit the world's standards, and they love it, and I support that with my whole heart, and I've even kind of become that in a way. Recording the music video that I recorded, that was kind of a big hurdle for me. I had been telling the people who worked with me that I wanted to wait until I lost the weight that I put on from birth control, and changed my mind when this administration was seeming like it was going to be, well, whatever. The political climate about a year ago got really nasty, and you can't even really call it political. He who I still won't name, I think I've named him 4 times ever. I certainly don't call him the P word. I understand that legally he is right now, but that's not something I put any thought or time or life into. So anyway, he who I don't spend time thinking about is when he said the things about his own ways of molesting and manipulating women. And then also when he fat shamed the contestant on, it was a beauty pageant. I pretty much, I don't know, I lost it at like a national level, and it was very hard to hold together last year. And that became a catalyst for me realizing that I needed to just embrace the current weight I was at. Know that it, sure, in my case, maybe it came from changing my diet a bit because I was happy rather than falling into some anorexic patterns that I had been in. And then it also, there's a kid and a butterfly, it's super cute. Anyway, so some of the reasons I had put on weight was because I was happy, and others was because of birth control, which I think is a very messed up thing in our society that women take on. And it's hilarious that then those same women are also the ones expected to keep their weight under control when the side effects of most of these hormones is gaining weight. So it became such a sad topic for me that I was like, well, who am I to contribute to the problem by hating myself obsessively until I lose weight just so I can make a music video? There's a cute little boy running and chasing 2 butterflies. One's tiny and one's big, and he's running towards flowers. Anyway, so those are some thoughts on my mind. I didn't want this 365-day challenge to turn into a watch me lose weight. So for a while, I had considered this little boy chasing butterflies is reminding me to stay focused on things that matter, which is beauty and color and light and flight. So these are heavier topics than I'm used to sharing, but I think they're important. I don't want to suddenly start sharing about them all the time, but they're worth mentioning. Anyway, I'm going to go watch this butterfly. Bye!